Okay. Okay, good evening. Welcome to this panel. Artificial intelligence will help define humanity. We need AI to tell us who we are. This is a quote of Kevin Kelly, the co-founder of the Viola magazine and author of many books. He is convinced that artificial intelligence will not replace human thinking, but will augment it. We can already see a lot of benefits of AI systems for humanity. Actually, today I'm thinking of rapidly evolving machine learning systems that predict blindness or kidney failure, just for example. But as we all know, this positive vision is only one side of the spectrum of assumptions concerning the emergence of artificial intelligence in our daily lives. The speed of development we can see today also fuels a Black Mirror-like vision of the future. There are fears that AI will lead to an overall digital surveillance, to killer drone wars or tech monopolists that totally control our societies. And behind all this stands a deep anxiety that in this upcoming golden age of artificial intelligence, we might lose some human values. And in fact, digital technologies are really questioning our understanding of what it means to be human. So, how can we make sure that AI systems stay fair, responsible, humane? How can we make sure that they enrich not only our economies, but also our lives? These are the questions of our tonight's panel, with the title Humanizing AI. My name is Karin Kriechmeier. I will host this panel. Welcome and thank you very much for joining again. And, thank you. I'm now very pleased to also welcome our distinguished speakers. They come from fundamental as well as applied research, from the arts, from industry, from governance. And they will make their presentations now and will give us some insights of the possibilities of how to shape these AI technology to really make them augment our human thinking. So, and after that we will have some time for discussion if we all keep track of time. And there will also be the opportunity for the audience to participate, of course. Okay, I will start now to introduce our speakers. And we start with Martina Mara. Welcome. Martina is probably the first professor of robopsychology in the world. I don't know exactly. She studied communications and psychology and worked for the Ars Electronica Future Lab for many years before she changed to the Johannes Kepler University last year. She focuses in her research on the acceptance of robots and the AI, on the psychological effects of simulated human likeness and collaboration between humans and robots. It's your floor now. Martina, please, welcome.
Thank you, Karin, for this very nice introduction. Thanks for having me. Yes, I'm a local. As Karin mentioned, I even used to work at the Ars Electronica Future Lab for many years. So speaking to an Ars Electronica audience always feels a bit like home for me, which is very nice. Since April 2018, I'm a professor of robopsychology at the University of Linz, and my lab's research usually focuses on questions like why many people still fear new technologies and how we can design robots and AI agents in a way that different target groups, different users feel comfortable, feel safe, don't feel dominated when interacting with such new technologies. Today, however, I'd like to use my few minutes of speaking time to make a point for the need of diversity in tech development. I mean diversity of people in groups, but also diversity of mindsets in general, of perspectives, of backgrounds, and also diversity in data. And you might think that this is a bit old topic, like a topic from 2015 or so, but it's still not lived practice in many research labs and companies, and I'm truly convinced that diversity is one of the most important prerequisites, one of the most important ingredients for a human-centered, humanized age of artificial intelligence. Because what does humanized technology mean? It cannot mean that we adapt artificial intelligence only to the needs of just one particular human, or the average human being, or maybe one human being who is able to pay a lot of money for a gadget. It must mean that every human being, no matter if a woman or a man, no matter what age, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what skin color, no matter if with disabilities or not, and no matter what professional or academic background, has the same right to participate in shaping the world we want to live in tomorrow. And it will be a technological world. So, I was not meant, okay, yeah. Every person must have the same right to technology that is usable for them, that fulfills his or her needs, and that does not discriminate against him or her. But this is still not reality in today's tech development. I want to watch a short YouTube clip with you, and maybe you have seen it before. This one and similar ones have gone a bit viral on social media over the last 2 years.
Black hand, nothing. Larry, go. Black hand, nothing. Larry, go. Racist mother sinks.
Yes, it's funny and it's not, right? So there are sensor-controlled soap dispensers on the market that just don't give soap to dark-skinned people. And one really wonders how this could have happened. I mean, wasn't there one single dark-skinned person in the product testing phase? And wasn't there one single dark-skinned person in the team of developers? And the answer is probably not. And it's not even unusual. For me, even if this video doesn't have to do with artificial intelligence in particular, doesn't have to do with machine learning or deep learning, I think it's still a very good example of what can happen when there's too little diversity in tech teams, and how a product may feel for a user who was not thought of and who had no chance to participate in the development of a new technological product. And it probably really feels like this. Yeah. This is also true for, okay, I still give you 2 seconds. This is also true for AI systems in many cases. And if we want to stick with the subject of skin color, I mean, probably many of you remember the buzz around face recognition systems in autonomous driving, particularly, which dark-skinned people recognize worse than light-skinned ones. But discrimination by machine learning systems can affect many other groups as well. It's not just a matter of skin color. We know now, for example, that AI-based voice assistants, all the Siris and Alexas in our worlds and in our living rooms, they understand some people far worse than others. The elderly, for example, my grandma is not understood very well by my Alexa. Females, for example, or people with speech disorders like stuttering. And why is that? It's not because the AI has some kind of consciousness and has something against a particular group of people. Of course not. It's because AI models are trained from data. They learn from data sets that do not take all people into account equally. So one problem, for example, can be that you only use data that is easy to get, that is easy accessible for you. In the case of voice recognition systems, for example, voice recordings of people that are easy to get are that of young males rather than old females. So this is getting more and more of a problem. And to solve this problem, to give you a good example of what you could do against such discriminatory problems, Mozilla, for example, has started a great project to generate a representative open training set of human voices that is more diverse than anything we know so far. It's called Common Voice. And you can donate your voice and your voice and your voice to the training data set to create more inclusive AI voice assistants in the future. And I think this is a quite good idea. So tell your grandmas, because we need their voices. We see similar problems, or we saw similar problems in the field of AI-based translation services, and probably some of you know about the problems the Google Translator had over the last few years in this realm. One typical example that showed how discriminatory against certain groups machine learning models perform was given when you translated from Turkish to German or English in the past by using the web-based Google Translator, and I guess many of you use this service on a day-to-day basis. In Turkish, there's only one choice of personal pronoun, and it could be referred to men or women or objects, and it's this O you see in the beginning of these 3 sentences on the slide. So actually, if you translate a sentence starting with O, the engine, the model, shouldn't be able to know whether a he or a she or an it is meant. But that's not the case, because the bias of all gender roles that are embedded in the millions of text examples have long been learned by Google Artificial Intelligence. And it's getting even more absurd. And these are screenshots I took myself about half a year ago, okay? It's getting even more absurd. With this example, okay? This was the case with the Google Translator for a very long time. And again, it's not because the model, the machine learning algorithm has something against women. It's just the reproduction of bias that the model learned from human-made data, from text examples, from translation examples that were written by humans. So it's just a mirror. But it changed. The Google Translator recently changed for the better. It now reflects both gender options when translating from Turkish to English. And it now looks like this. You see it on the slide. And this is really thanks to much criticism on this reproduction of bias problem in machine learning by the media, but also by many representatives from many research fields from many disciplines, sociologists, psychologists, social scientists, ethnicists, many people who criticized this system from many different perspectives. Now it changed for the better. So my last point is that diversity also means interdisciplinarity, and I think that it's also a key factor for humanizing AI, for a human-centered future of technology, that we involve much more different disciplinary perspectives than today. Over the last decade, as I was socialized in Ars Electronica, so to say, I personally was so lucky to collaborate with many different people, you know, with software and hardware developers, with physicists and philosophers and artists and CEOs of companies. And it was great, and I learned a lot from that. And this is something I think we really have to share with our students. And my personal plan, and this is my last slide, is as I'm a professor now at the University of Linz, and as we are starting with new degree programs just this October, just a few weeks from now, and one of them is a master's program in artificial intelligence, and the other one is a new master program in psychology with a focus on technology. And my team and I, we're gonna teach for both groups of students. I really want to create new types of courses where we bring together these different people with their different perspectives already early during their studies, already during their bachelor's and master's degrees. And I think we have to learn the languages of another. It's sometimes not easy to understand people from tech if you're a social scientist, because different terms are used differently, but we have to learn to understand each other, and we have to learn to collaborate, to work together on a bright future with technology. And I think that this is something we can really learn. This is my final sentence from Ars Electronica. I think Ars Electronica is such a great best practice example for that. And we see, based on so many great examples all around the festival area, what positive things can happen if many different people from all around the world and from different backgrounds, may it be tech or may it be art, work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Martina, for this inspiring presentation. I'm now very happy to introduce Simon Euringer from the BMW Group, who quite recently returned from Silicon Valley to Munich. In the past few years, he was vice president of the BMW Group technology office in the US, where he was quite at the heart of self-driving car development. And now he is head of development for next generation systems for voice interaction within cars. And he also oversees the topic natural interaction, which means interaction with gestures. So, yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Karin, for having me, and Martina. I couldn't agree more to the diversity point that you just made. And in fact, it's the point that I want to make, so I'm going to speed up a little to make more room for new ideas. So looking back, and this is, I will take a slightly different approach to come to the same conclusion, that we need diversity in teams to have a trustable and understandable and human AI. So looking back, I mean, we have lived in the technology age for many decades now, and it came with a promise. And the promise was to push our physical borders and limits. We couldn't be here as many if we had to walk here, right? We commuted here by any means of transportation that brought us here effortlessly. So the technology era came with the promise of physical enhancement. And now entering AI, the era of AI, it comes with the promise of cognitive enhancement. Now, this Google search has been fired up a couple of times before, and it takes 2 letters to find a pretty relevant search result set of what the person that Googled is looking for. So, given the many, many documents that are around the web that contain the 2 letters A and R, it is quite impressive to see how fast and how much better our cognitive abilities are through the help of AI that actually works for us. Same goes with finding artists around the world that you've never heard of while going to a Blockbuster video store before. So it comes with the promise of cognitive enhancement. Now, in all aspects of decision-making situations where we have and will be surrounded with AI more and more, we have discussed the question of explainability for a long time. Now, as you know, a single made decision from an AI-based system is not explainable per se. Now, in the era of technology, we have always had perfectly explainable solutions, like this concrete wall will not come tumbling down because there is a state-of-the-art engineering, structural engineering and material science that proves that this wall will be stable enough to support all of us. And whether it's an engineer from France or from China or from South Africa, they will all come to the same conclusion. So this wall is perfectly explainable. Now, this search result set is not explainable. That's the basis of AI. So how do we pursue and how do we answer that question of explainability? And my suggestion is, let's ask ourselves, do we as humans pass the explainability test? So if you'd ask me why I bought this pair of sneakers, chances are I'm going to say, well, I needed shoes. Well, this answer isn't really a good explanation to your question. It's probably not even true. So, in our discussion, you're going to find out more about me that gives you contextual information on why I bought those sneakers. And you're going to find out that this guy has a sneaker thing going on, and he might have a mild addiction to shoes, whatever. And so, while the explanation that I gave was not useful and maybe not even true, the contextual information gives you the overall perception of why this decision that I made to buy those shoes makes sense. And so, with the explainability question, I suggest that as we enter ubiquitous AI, we should not try to pursue down that path of making it explainable. It will never be. So what I'm saying is, and this is exactly Martina's point, is we should make sure that the work ethics and the codes of conduct that the people have that come up with an AI and load it up for inference for us to use, that those people work along guidelines, work along a diverse team, so that people who can later use the AI, who cannot make who can never understand that decision on why that search result set of a movie, of a sneaker, of a whatever, is built up like this. But that those people can make an informed decision on whether they want to use it or not. Same as when we buy organic food, for example. We are probably not going to bring the food to a laboratory and have it analyzed. However, we make up our mind, our informed decision, without knowing how this milk is being produced. We make up our minds and we make an informed decision by the work ethics of the people that produce the food that we are about to buy. And here is the point. Let's make sure that by developing AI for a human way of using it, let's make sure that the teams that come up with the software that we are using are diverse, transparent, and work along a code of conduct that we can relate to. And although we don't understand the AI and how it's working, we can relate to and make an informed decision on whether we want to use it or not. So given that diversity, we can still build up trust, and trust is human, and we can make an informed decision about a topic that we inherently will never understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. Very interesting points. Now, our next speaker also comes from another big automaker. I warmly welcome Alexander Mankowsky. Welcome. He conducts exceptional future studies for the Research Institute of Daimler. He studied social science, psychology, and philosophy at the FRI Universität Berlin, and then got deeply into AI. He now focuses on the changing culture of mobility and even works with horses to understand how autonomous cars can better deal with human behavior. And by the way, he drives a Mercedes 300 from 1992, if this is still the case. So we are curious about your lecture now. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. The old car, as if you do future studies, yeah, then it's a good idea. Not a good idea. You have to practice your sense of time, yeah, and to practice your sense of time, that is not bad to have some old stuff around you and some new stuff and so on. Yeah, that you can feel. Okay, what is 30 years? This car is 30 years old. Works fine. So that's the reason for that. Some people call me mobility philosopher. I like that more than futurist. And I will jump in, I see it here, into the topic, call it ethics by design. Yeah, ethics by conduct is nice because all these people are so diverse and friendly, and I believe them. Fair trade label, that's a nice thing. But I guess if you look for self-driving cars, we should be a bit more radical. Yeah, because these things are totally dangerous. It's not like Google research. Yeah, and ethics by design, we should look at what is ethics. Yeah, ethics is respect the autonomy of others. Yeah? That's the hard sentence. Yeah, respect the autonomy of others. What do we need for that? Yeah, I did that in object-oriented style. Yeah, I think here are programming nerds. Yeah, if you have a goal called autonomy, then you have the design task that people around you need agency. Yeah? If you don't have agency, you don't have autonomy. Yeah? If you're sitting in a prison, then you can think what you want. It's meaningless, yeah? Because you don't have agency. You can't do anything. Yeah, so autonomy means agency. For agency, we need what we said about the diversity and stuff like that. We did participative innovation because very many people have very different goals. Yeah, and very different ideas of agency, what they want to do. Yeah, so you need very many people that tell you, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. So participation is needed for that. Then, if you have this agency, what is it based on? It's based on understanding. Yeah, without understanding, it's not true agency, it's a visual thinking, yeah, understanding, cultural, biological, physical, you have to understand, yeah, what are the people about to do. And the second thing, information is not only to give them information about, like it's written, or rules, or facts, or whatsoever. Information is, since we are living beings, it's very tangible. It could be a body language, yeah, it could be everything like that, could be a smell, could be so much. Yeah, you have to see what's in your case, in your use case, in your goal, what you like to achieve, what is information there, yeah. And the next thing is most important is you have to give them people handles, yeah. Because agency means you have to do something, so you need handles that you can use. Yeah? Then you can respect the autonomy of others. Otherwise, it's not there. Because they have no handles, they can't do something, yeah? They have no hammer, no tool, no information, no nothing. So to say AI is blind, and we have to trust the people, I don't know. Don't think that's enough if we are not in Google, but in self-driving cars, because they are dangerous things. So what's to do? First thing, I guess, we have to make a list on ourselves what's to automate and what's not to automate. Yeah, that's very important. Very, very few people do that. I have these slides. Once I showed that in the NASA, transitioning to autonomy was a conference, and that later told me, okay, never ever before had somebody written out what's not to automate. Yeah, very often. People tend to like to automate everything. Yeah, we have here music artists. The first thing they want to automate is the invention of music. Is that a good idea? I don't think so. Yeah, or people who make fashion. What they want to automate? The idea how to make fashion. Is that a good idea? No. So, but everybody has to decide on his own. But the suggestion is, if you have to automate, then look for parameters. Is it a system? Is it a closed system or is it an open system? Language, for example, is totally open. To automate that will never work completely. Closed systems are very, very good. On the other hand, you see all these human talents, no? But you can fill it out yourself. Yeah, you should do that in the first step. The next thing, if you look at the case self-driving cars, what are self-driving cars? Yeah, we have these are automates on the street, yeah, in the public sphere. And what is mobility? Mobility is a cooperative activity. Cooperative activity means we interact with each other. Yeah, if you walk in a pedestrian zone, you don't bump in each other all the time. So why don't you bump in each other? Because you can feel. Empathy is the key. Yeah, that's the horses. You can feel the others, and perception action happens. Subconscious, yeah, without any knowledge of you, you do that, and so we don't bump in each other. Now we have these automated cars. These automated cars are working perfectly in a closed world. Yeah, closed world means they can sense the environment, operate the car, stuff like that. That's basic operations. But cooperative mobility means, or motility is not a typo error. It means living beings moving around. Yeah. If you have an insect, you will understand the insect, even if you you will not ever understand an insect, but you see it's walking around, then you have the feeling you understand it. So motility, therefore, so Lynn Loveland, a social scientist, and the rituals and stuff like that. So we have, in this case of self-driving cars, we have to connect the closed world, yeah, the programmatic world, with the real world. We need a membrane. Yeah, we have to design something to give people handles, yeah, to make it understandable, as I told before. And these handles should be, we call that informed trust, yeah. Informed trust means the people should be able to learn the behavior of this automate, yeah, this automated thing, and they should be able to act. What does it mean, closed world? Like slightly a thing if we have machine learning, then that's a non-deterministic system. Non-deterministic system means the results can be 99% correct or 90% correct, but never 100%. Yeah, sometimes it will not work. So you will have, yeah, then a pedestrian is a bicycle, for example, yeah? Or it's not there, or two pedestrians, yeah, 1%. Then you need a deterministic system like a radar, that works as a correction, stops the car. Because there's something is on the road and the traffic scene interpreted by machine learning is not correct. Then the car has to stop and reassess the scene. So the car will behave, for our perspective, weird. It will drive on and then stop a bit because there's nothing to see in front of it, and stop a bit and then it will go ahead. So people then bump in the rear end the car. That's very often because we are cooperative people. We think with the car. We think, okay, it's free. I will step on the accelerator. So like that. What are we doing there? First, we have as a design task. The most important, the empathy, we have to enable our perception action model, in our head, like the not bumping in each other in a pedestrian zone, to feel the car. That's most important. So we have to done some research on how does empathy work, and empathy works mostly about bodily movement, about signs. We have these horses, with the ears. We know what they are doing. So that's a design task. Feel the car. Has it seen me, such like that? The second step is make it learnable inside, available for inside, that you can have school, you can give people, children, traffic school. For this, and in the end, it's lessons too. What we did there was for empathy is the car is moving, the car can show you lights, the car will show you that it's an automated mode, so that you are able to learn, the behavior of the car. It's a little bit weird, or you can tell if you have a child, there's a school child in traffic school, you can tell the child, okay, is the car in automated mode? Yes, no. If yes, has it seen you? So there must be elements on the car that it has seen you, sensed you. No, sense is real, but seen, people think of seen. Because if it has not seen you, sensed you, not marked, then you should go away. Otherwise, you have no autonomy. Then the ethics is gone. Because you have to see it. Otherwise, there's a small video for that. It's
Blickkontakt ist ein wesentliches Element der Verständigung im Straßenverkehr. Diese Beziehungsebene fehlt bei automatisiert fahrenden Fahrzeugen. Das ESF 2019 macht in dieser Hinsicht einen großen Schritt auf menschliche Verkehrsteilnehmer zu. Es zeigt klar, wenn es zum Beispiel einen Fußgänger die Straße überqueren lässt. Türkise Lichtsignale geben Auskunft über seine Absichten. Langsames Pulsieren signalisiert, dass das ESF 2019 den Fußgänger gesehen hat und anhält. Die vorderen LEDs in der Dacheinheit folgen dem Fußgänger wie der Blick eines aufmerksamen Fahrers. Zusammen mit dem Frontpanel signalisieren sie, dass das ESF den Fußgänger beachtet und nicht losfahren wird. Für den nachfolgenden Verkehr wird die Situation über die Heckscheibe erklärt. Ein Symbol erläutert, warum das ESF 2019 anhält. Die anschließende Projektion des Kamerabildes zeigt den Fußgänger vor dem ESF und verschafft dem Folgeverkehr Durchblick.
So, as you can see, that's not a show car. It's more a technological prototype, But if you have to laugh about that, then it's obviously on the point, Because these are functions which are totally they are obviously there, If human beings are driving a car or walking around, and nobody thinks about these functions. But in an automated car, they are not there, and no robot, they are missing. We often take functions for granted, which are human being functions. Like there was an Oxford database about jobs that would be eliminated by robots. The first job was bartender, which is totally crazy because a bartender is 80% social interaction. But that they take for granted. And then they said, okay, it's giving you a beer. It's absolutely wrong. The same case is in mobility, It is this cooperative part, which is interesting, but it's like people take that for granted, but it's not, and therefore we have to do that. This is our evolutionary strategy. We're working on this way that the car has to interact, to be inserted into our kind of mobility in different ways. The last thing is the caring communicator. But it's an experimental safety car. Important is we tried it out with the "I have seen you" signal. That's totally funny. People then will you can see that 360 degree around the car, and that's very funny and very meaningful. That's again the car. And what we have to do, that's was for the German for the German language. We need kind schooling videos, like it was for the older ones, the seventh sense, siebter Sinn. Wir haben einen kleinen siebten Sinn, jetzt in Deutsch, ja. The other ones have to think about it. You have to imagine what they are talking. In a way, it's clear.
Das ist Clara. Dass sie hinterm Steuer sitzt, heißt nicht, dass sie fährt. Denn Clara fährt ein autonomes Auto. Was das bedeutet? Dass Clara in Ruhe skypen kann. Gerade beschreibt sie ihrer Freundin die Leberpastete, die sie gestern serviert hat. Du stehst am Straßenrand und findest das gruselig? Musst du nicht. Nicht jeder mag schließlich Leberpastete. Und Clara achtet sowieso nicht auf dich, denn Clara fährt im autonomen Modus. Woran du das erkennst? Aktuell am türkisfarbenen Licht in den Seitenspiegeln und in der Heckleuchte. Später wird noch eins oben über der Windschutzscheibe hinzukommen. Also schau nicht auf Clara, sondern auf diese Lampen. Und du kannst statt an Leberpastete von vornherein an Erdbeereis denken.
Yeah, okay. I think we need videos like that to make these understandable, yeah, and make these what we call informed trust, or you call informed decision, way more transparent. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, we are now changing to the world of arts. Our next panelist is Keiichiro Shibuya. I haven't seen him. Here is he. Thank you very much for being here. Keiichiro is a composer and musician who lives in Paris and Tokyo. Among many, many music works, he has produced the opera The End, starring Hatsune Miku, a virtual 3D pop star. Last year, he released the Android opera with the beautiful title Scary Beauty, where an android with AI capabilities conducts a human orchestra and even sings with it. Tomorrow, Keiichiro will present his latest work, Heavy Requiem, for the first time here at the festival, namely at the AI Music Festival at the monastery in St. Florian. And I'm now also very interested what he has to say to Alexander's point that it's not a good idea to automate music. But let's see what's his point. Thank you very much.
So can I connect to the... So can I see my computer? Yeah. Oh. So my name is Keiichiro Shibuya. So I have a text and I'm a bit afraid and the text is so long. So I have to... Yeah. Okay, I'm starting. My name is Keiichiro Shibuya, musician and composer based in Tokyo and Paris. The theme today for me is AI and music. Since I started the project Android Opera Scary Beauty with AI program, there is one question which I've been asked so many times in interviews. Is human beings is not necessary anymore for composition and performance? I'm interested in how AI influences music not as a researcher but as a musician. However, I'm not much interested in vague and futuristic story. It is clear that the evolution of AI is unpredictable. So in this presentation, I will not talk about the future prediction, but I will talk about the relationship between technology and human. By looking at my recent works, such as Vocaloid Opera, Android Opera, Buddhist chant with electronic music, created the boundary between humans and technology. I started music composition at the Tokyo University of Arts how to compose acoustic music such as chamber music and orchestra and piano performance. After a few years later, PowerBook G3 was able to generate sound and to compose music by computer. I felt this was a big innovation since ever piano was invented. And for the next 10 years, I concentrated on the creating electronic music. After that, I founded the electronic music label called Attack in 2002. After a few years, I had a big turning point in my life. It was that my partner, Maria, committed suicide in 2008. She was a co-founder of my label Attack, a sound artist and modeling. Because of her death, I became deeply aware of what is life and death, and that explanation influenced a lot of my music. Since then, I couldn't continue making music by using a computer, so I composed music for an acoustic piano and released an album called For Maria in 2009. However, this is not a simple return to acoustic music, but a new discovery for me. I use DSD, it's Digital Stream Digital, which is an innovative recording technology that has more than 100 times information than music CDs. The thing I learned from this experience is that piano is also another technology, not only computer. I can make music based on the chords and melodies, but I felt that piano is a completely new instruments and technology, and I can touch the piano. I can touch the keyboard like massaging the body of death. After a while, I released creating electronic music by computer. However, my music was completely different from past years. One of the major work at the time was a Vocaloid opera at the end, which I created in Waikam, Japan in 2012. This opera does not feature any humans, reflecting the familiar elements of the non-exist singers and orchestras, aria and recitativo by animated character called Hatsune Miku and Vocaloid, with a story told by computer, made music and visuals. In the story, Hatsune Miku developed the stories about the variation of death by asking himself, will I die? The death is not the death of someone, but the death of character, technology, communication. That's what I wanted to express in the context of my opera. Instead, the stage was made of the four holographic big screens and a semi-transparent coffin made of the same material as the screen. The music was produced and played with only computer, and the theater was shaken by a huge sound made by surround system. In addition, music, Mark Jacobs, Louis Vuitton, the artistic director at the time, made an animated costume for Hatsune Miku. Finally, I performed at the Théâtre Châtelet in Paris 2030. It was the biggest hit of the year and the famous classical opera, the theater, and the performance continued around the world. I can see the video. Sorry.
Just.
So I have to hurry up. So on the final day of the performance at the Theatre Châtelet, Jean-Luc Chopin, who was a director at the time, called me aside and asked, "What do you want to do next?" I said, "An opera with android." It was the beginning of the next project, Scary Beauty. This project is a joint project with Professor Hiroshi Ishii of Osaka University, who is a world-famous robotic researcher, and Professor Takashi Ikegami of the University of Tokyo, who is a scientist of the chaotic and complex system and artificial life researcher. I have been collaborating with him for 15 years. The android opera Scary Beauty is a humanoid android called Orta, who sings and conducts a human orchestra. Performance according to it in 2017, I performed a prototype at Adelaide Festival in Australia. And I had world premiere by upgrading Android Orta 2 at Miraikan in Japan. Please let me show you the video of the performance. Sorry, video isn't working. Please research in the Google. Title is Scary Beauty, Keiichiro Shibuya. So, in this Android called Orta 2, several programs are running at the same time. The basic premise of the artificial life is that it can generate its own motion patterns. So this Android will regenerate its motion patterns based on the external information coming from the environment, such as the sound of the orchestra or its own voice, and based on its internal states, such as the sound and the artificial neural network. Also, conduct a program based on song data, which is almost fixed, it's installed. But the fluctuation of the BPM tempo changes each time by running function, and that same thing never happens. The volume change made by the orchestra also has an effect on the motion of the Android. Priority of the programs are determined by AI, and that's how it creates the unique movement. During the performance in 2019, Android was upgrading to Orta 3 from Orta 2, and it continues evolving. The development of the conducting human orchestra by the Android was very difficult. At first, the orchestra member could not get the tempo and not perform well just by looking at the Android conducting with arm movements. At the time, what I realized revising the Android's movement was that orchestra members could understand the rhythm by the shoulder up and down, like a human breathing. Not the arm movement. Human orchestra finally could play music by synchronizing their breath and consciousness to the Android. In other words, what human orchestra can do with Android is not just about programming or giving it autonomy. It was a discovery of the machine learning process in which they can also learn from Android, how they can perform together with it. Finally, I would like to talk about Heavy Requiem, which is a Buddhist chant and electro music, which I will perform tomorrow, St. Florian Chapel. In 2017, I met Zenbo Hidaka, a vice priest of the Koya-san, Samboin, and it was asked from him to renew traditional Buddhist music called Japanese shomyo into a modern way. What I intermittently thought about this collaboration was that I didn't want to use Western scale and chords. I wanted to have the electronic sound and voice of Shomyo independently so that I could create the balance and harmony which people have never heard before. In the process of the collaboration, like dialogue with monks and researching with Shomyo, I came up with the concept of heavy requiem. Originally, Western requiem basically tended to the very serious. On the other hand, for Shomyo, I wanted to explore the possibility of a festive and satisfied requiem, which is the opposite to the Western requiem by using the loud and heavy low sound and beat, because the text in the Shomyo are often similar with Western requiems, such as mourning. To try new things by rearranging the traditional styles is strongly influenced by experiences Android opera scalar beauty. The base music is composed of 5 elements in the future, such as earth, fire, water, wood, air, and space, plus consciousness. Fujiwara Eisen, a chief priest of the Jorinji Nishinomiya and Zambo in Koyasan, who will perform the Shomyo vocal tomorrow, choose each song of Japanese Shomyo based on each image. The lyrics in the Shomyo is about praying about Buddha. In short, the song beginning by inviting the Buddha and preparing the place, then to sing Buddha's mantra and the praise Buddha. After praying for world peace, and finally sending the Buddha to the original mandala. Finally, looking back at the 3 recent works introduced today to independently the traditional music format such as the opera and Buddhist chant and the technology like AI is totally far from the question about is human necessary for the evolution of the music or not. Especially, I think the Buddhist ideology that is the basics of the heavy requiem has more potential to go beyond the binary options between human and technology, which is usually seen from Judaism and Christianity. So, as an artist, I want to keep pushing the boundary and explore the evolution of AI and music. Thank you for your listening, and please come to my concert tomorrow.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Okay, yeah, I now have the pleasure to introduce Hiroshi Ishii, who has been a researcher at the MIT Media Lab for more than 20 years now. He founded the Tangible Media Group, where he creates seamless interfaces which allow physical interaction with computational data, which is very interesting. He's also working on his vision of radical atoms. That means he develops a new generation of materials that can change form, analog to pixels on a screen. Yeah, but let's see for ourselves what Hiroshi has to say on our topic. Thank you.
Can I connect the sound? Audio? Okay, it's over there. Okay, hi, I'm Hiroshi Ishii. It's a really great pleasure to coming back Ars Electronica and meeting so many people having a very, very profound, challenging discussions. Today, I would like to express my some kind of the thoughts about humanize. Humanize is a very tricky word. So why we humanize? What should be humanized? It's a kind of a fundamental questions. So when people do interaction design with the tools, machine, there are many different metaphors. Metaphors matters. Humanize means you want to treat machine like a person, anthropomorphism. And why? That's something important fundamental question for me. And I brought one machine. It's a very simple analog machine. How many people can compute with abacus? Not so many. So this is the tools which have no black box hidden. Everything transparent, exposed. I also use this example of tangible bits. All the digits are physically manipulable, tangible. Also affordance. If you see this object, you can do a lot of stuff, like make a music, or toy train, or back scratcher, without reading any document written by Google's or Apple guys, because it has a beauty of simplicity, transparency, which completely lost in the digital technology. But even AI era, situation get worse. That's something I want to talk it. So this is examples of the abacus, which I've been using for the explaining the notion of tangible bits. So other media, other stuff is a media beyond the tools. So let me introduce one of my old piece called a clear board. Drawing board is a nice tools, like a pen and sketchbook. But I extend this one as a medium for remote communication. This is first mock-up called the Clearboard Zero. Now you see the glass board, but now it's a remote version. You can draw together, sharing a gaze. You can clearly see which portion your partner is gazing. This is a medium of communication or collaborations over distance. Also, technology can really bring a lot of interesting media. So in Radical Atoms, we try to create new medium, dynamic, computational, and the physical media for people to design the stuff. So let me show the videos. So these are videos we exhibit in the Milano Salones, and also we brought some version to the Ars Electronica Festival. And 2016, we are very lucky that Radical Atoms became banners. But these are new computation, physical, digital materials for the designers, or for communication, or artistic expression. So this is the materials people can use for their own new expression. So this is a material. But next target is person. So why we have to really use anthropomorphism? There must be really good reasons. Anthropomorphism is an attribution of human traits, emotion, or intention to non-human entities. Fundamentally, those machines do not have the intelligence as we have. Then, if you ask what humanizing means, make something more humane or civilized, that's fine. But also give something a human character. So what we are talking is second definition. Then I found a really great example from a dictionary. Dogs are wonderful friends, but why do we try to humanize them? That's very profound. Then my text, machines are useful tools and media, but why do we try to humanize them? What's the really benefit and what are we going to lose? So I think a choice of those metaphors is something important for us. So we don't need to make everything like a human or humanize, because fundamentally it's a certain issue. Also, complexity of the billions of number of the machine, and many are intelligent because AI, also people, make big issues. So this is one of the small chart of my ecosystem of digital life, but you can imagine billions connected, all the stuff is massively complex, means nobody can understand what's happening. Also, these agents start communicating and negotiating on behalf of somebody, institute, but not the whole general like a goal. Also, human cannot be in a loop because speed is so fast. Example is financial crisis in 2008, bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers, all the chain reactions. Also, fundamentally, who are in charge, ultimately, legally, ethically, technically, that's still big open questions. So I think an issue of humanization of the machine, whatever, is lack of transparency, like this one, is opposite. Then lack of the controls. Nobody have real control of the entire systems. Then nobody know the Gestalt view. So thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. Sorry, wrong microphone. Thank you very much, Hiroshi, for this fascinating presentation. Yeah, we turn now to our next speaker, who is Harald Leitenmüller, CTO of Microsoft Austria. In his function, he supports IT initiatives for future applications. He's an expert on digital transformation, AI, and also policy matters. Please come to the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hello, humans. This is a Turing test, by the way. Hello, humans. So I'm assuming there are more robots participating online now. Is this correct? Hello, robots. Hello, Linz. I'm actually also rooted in Linz. I left Linz in 1984, so it's always a great pleasure for me to come back to Linz and participate in the Ars Electronica in specific. I think it's a great event because it represents one of our human fundamental rights, the right to assemble and the right to speak up. Yeah? So assuming that there are more humans in this room than robots, we are living out our values today. Thank you to make this possible. Today I would reframe our discussion a little bit. Most of you, when you hear this acronym AI, think about artificial intelligence. Is that correct? Humans? Yeah? Okay. I don't like this term, to be honest with you. I prefer amplifying ingenuity or amplifying human ingenuity. What does ingenuity mean? What is human ingenuity? Let's define it that way. That's a set of abilities that are very unique to humans, yeah, that we rely on, that we leverage every day. And think about humans that have disability. Maybe they lack one of these senses, cognitive functions we all other have. Yeah? And if you think about technology in that context, for example, intelligence technologies, these people with disability will immediately say, we are benefiting from this technology. For a blind, this means he could somehow see the world. For other people, it are other abilities they gain. So I would like to define now this term AI as amplifying human ingenuity with intelligent technology. And what this also means, and in specific for Microsoft, we are putting people in the center of our belief. We want to define the intelligent technology as means to help us to achieve more, to be human in more details. So 2016, our CEO, Satya Nadella, published in the Wired magazine, as far as I remember, some ethic principles. In the January of 2018, this was reframed and published in the book, The Future Computed. And you see the core of these 6 principles here on this slide. I don't want to dive into details here, but these principles are very similar in all regions and all discussions. Maybe there are different priorities, but these principles of ethics are quite common and well known. What's going on at Microsoft currently? We are moving from principles to practice to make this reality. Yeah? So when we published this book, it was an interesting discussion that happened with policymaker, government, and so on. So what does this actually mean in practice? Yeah? And we immediately learned we need some governance structure. For our internal governance, for example, to innovate responsibly, we established a committee, a board, an ethic board. So this ETA committee stands for AI and Ethics, that makes tough decisions about sensible use cases. Yeah? And they publish guidelines for our research folks, for our salespeople, and many that participate in this responsible innovation process. Yeah? But we also immediately recognized if we are leading in this digital transformation, we have to call for regulation. We have to call for regulation now. Think about facial recognition technology. We have to regulate some aspects now, but with regulation it's so tricky. It takes a long time. So we are thinking about moving some of our insights and learning from agile software development to agile regulation. So think about what's the minimum viable regulation to regulate the issues of facial recognition now, and learn over time, build a feedback loop and improve the regulation from step by step as far as we learn. Because leadership means we don't have the answers now, we are learning as we go. Yeah? So this became a very important strategic stream for us. And a second work stream evolved, educating the broad public. Because AI is happening now. From developers, from policymakers, they are using these systems. So we launched an AI business school. We published insights, our learnings from our projects, and make this available in a broad public. But we also think we should enable more people to participate in this movement. And we started a global campaign, it's called AI for Good. It's more or less representing the UN Sustainability Goals approach. So we established a fund with $125 million for innovative projects that support the issues we want to solve as a human mankind, like sustainability, humanitarian action, cultural heritage, earth issues, and so on. And to show you what this means, I brought a video with me that summarized that up. Is there some sound?
Faced with some of our most critical challenges, human ingenuity triumphs. Today, the Microsoft AI for Good initiative enables a person with an idea to accelerate it, to give it scale, to create change for the better.
Microsoft AI will help our work by empowering people to take action.
Through AI for Earth, photos can now help save a species. With AI for accessibility, the visual world becomes an audible experience.
Sanitary and peanut butter.
And with AI for humanitarian action, first responders can target their efforts faster than ever before.
It feels humbling to know that I'm actually helping another human being.
Today, we are empowering others to forge new paths, to fight famine before a crisis strikes, and protect ecosystems by identifying forests down to a single tree.
We have the forest that we have today. We can't change that. What we can change is the future.
Microsoft AI is fueling some of the most passionate and creative people on our planet, with the help of citizen scientists, to make change, once thought impossible, real.
AI will know and understand and model based on the child interaction.
AI unleashes new possibilities to impact our world. And together, we're not just dreaming it, we're doing it.
So what I personally really would like to discuss with you, how do we create this people-first world with intelligence technology and without barriers? And I know there are some people out there that dream about other things being first. Let's try to avoid that. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Thank you very much for being here and for your talk. We are now arriving at our last speaker. Here he is, Roberto Viola from Italy. He is Director General of the DG Connect, that is the Directorate General of Communication, Networks, Content and Technology at the European Commission that deals with AI, blockchain, 5G technology, for example. He's a policymaker and a big proponent of the digital single market and the next generation internet initiative. Before that, he was at the European Space Agency, and now welcome to the stage for our last talk today. Thank you very much.
Good evening, good evening. Thanks very much for assisting to this last talk. So I'm a policymaker, right? So I can talk policy, fine. So it's last year, in this nice revolving thing, I discussed with you the interaction between AI and arts. And this year the theme is humanizing AI. And I have the responsibility to have launched the first idea of the AI of the humans some time ago. It went a bit viral. And now the new president of the European Commission said something very committing, because she announced that in the first 100 days in office, counting from the 1st of November, so beginning of next year, Europe will present the first law on AI. This morning I started my morning in Dublin, where I met all the tech companies, which are of course not enthusiastic about rules. And one company said, if you continue these data protection things and all the rest, in Europe there won't be any AI, and we will not develop AI in Europe. And I said, leave, that's okay. I think we are special in Europe. We are special because we are not blessed by the big tech companies. We are not, like the other side of the world, anxious to control every citizen, scan their face. We export things like data protection, democracy, open internet. So I believe we will be credible if we will do an exercise like the General Data Protection Regulation and present the first world regulation on AI. Actually, today, we have, together with Ars Electronica, we have a very nice partnership with Ars Electronica, world premiere. We have the first AI music festival of the world. So it's not just a blah, blah, blah like my speech. It's real artists using AI. And present tonight, we have the 10th Symphony of Mahler, which is completed by AI. So I think it's very important that whoever thinks in the world to present something in regulating AI, which is a gigantic task, has to have the credibility to really walk the talk. And when you say human-centric, really respect the humans. I haven't heard a single company or a single statesman in the world that say, I'm developing AI against people. I'm developing the bad AI. Have you heard a claim like this? Even the people that develop killer drones, they say it's for protecting you. It's okay. So I don't think the point is that we can simply accept a claim. I mean, a very honorable claim, a very committal claim, but it's a claim. So I say I'm good, you say I don't believe you. So the challenge of regulating AI is exactly this. It's how to translate those kind of ethical principles that now start to stabilize a little bit. You have to be transparent in terms of having a minimum of explainability of what you do. You have to avoid bias in algorithms. You have to make sure that you respect the fundamental rights, for instance, in using image recognition technology, face recognition technology. So all of these, of course, they can be self-assessed, self-certified by companies, and this is what basically companies do these days. Or there could be a system of trust, of public trust, in terms of check and balances, that actually verifies the claims. Now, we have worked with the best experts in the world on AI, and we have come up, actually they come up, and the community, we have an AI platform with more than 2,500 stakeholders participating. We have come up with the fundamental principles of ethical AI. So then we ask now the companies, use them in developed products. And by the end of the year, we will be able to understand, how this test phase will work. So our idea is very simple. There are, in many cases, no particular issues about utilizing AI. Take AI on a washing machine. I normally make a mess out of clothes and colors. So if I have an AI-based system, and the system doesn't work well like me, I have many laws in Europe that protect me as a consumer, and probably I don't need to add another one. There's nothing special. But if this washing machine opens the door with an AI algorithm, take, for instance, an advice to, take medicine, well, you can follow or not. But if the AI algorithm controls the insulin pump that injects to you insulin, well, this is risky, no? So this needs to be seriously looked at, and it cannot just be the claim of the company. It's okay. So it needs a third-party verification. So these are the mechanisms that are important. Of course, we need now to develop this. We need to be sure that, this is credible when we'll present something about this. But the system of trust is very important. As is very important to understand a bit more the interaction between human beings and algorithm and machine. And I think we are at the very beginning of this journey. That's why when, for instance, we look at the issue of social media, we decided to invest much more into the understanding of how the human beings are being changed by social media, what changes. So we have called now around us experts in neurophysiology, experts in the brain, sociologists, people that work, for instance, in human vision. And more, we are trying to create a public database of knowledge about what's going on. And I can tell you, the initial results are, I wouldn't say terrifying, but I would say interesting. There are brain modifications, there are psychological modifications when people are exposed to screens for a very long time. And this also probably explains why we react the way we react collectively, to fake news, for instance, to false information. So this relationship between technology, human being, experience, it's also at the center of what Ars Electronica, what Lindsay is trying to do. And this is the part that no regulation, no law in the world can do, but it must be done by the artists, by the creators. And they will not be replaced by AI, that I'm sure. Of course, AI can play the piano better than me. That's easy, by the way. But what is very important then is to go, when you walk the talk about human AI, in the two streams. On one side, being credible when we will make the claim, we will be able to present the first regulation on AI. On the other side, be credible that we work with everybody in the art sector, in the social sector, to create a community. We have launched two important activities around AI. The first one is to federate as much as possible research centers in Europe by using very advanced computing systems. And the other one is to use data in an open way. And in particular, we are targeting the creating the largest database for cancer images, open database, that every researcher, every scientist can use. And we will continue like this. So this year, we present an AI in music. Next year, let's see. But I'm convinced that the European way is not a bad way. We are, again, not selling particular products, but we are collectively owners of this beautiful idea that we like to look at us in the digital mirror as see still us, and not our distorted digital twin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You can actually stay. I would like to ask all panelists again on our little stage, please, so that we can just have a little summary of these very interesting perspectives that we had. We heard a lot about ethics, diversity, autonomous cars, interaction between man and machine. I just would like to know, just to connect to your talk, is there anybody who doesn't think or who is not totally in accordance with the fact that we need a strong regulation? Will that be the best way to increase trust in people, or the fear that AI will amplify?
I didn't say strong.
Okay, our self-assessment methods, I would be interested what the others think of the topic, if this is the right measure to handle this now, or if maybe regulation is some that freedom and of research or arts is too much limited through regulation. Could also be a point. Please. There's another.
I wouldn't look for regulation of AI, because AI is just programming, and we need some regulation and so on for software. This is a good thing, ethical regulations for software, but not AI. AI is a myth, so to say.
Yeah, you mean just for special machine learning
for software,
algorithms?
No, not for machine, for software, like it's presented, like if you have these, if you look at how the web pages are designed to display the web page in a way that you as a customer, we are all, as when we click on it, that is not used as kind of a clickbait. The button for yes is like that, and the hints are so like that. Very, very simple. You don't need to reference to AI.
Yeah. Okay.
Face recognition.
Yeah. So
I think definitely it's a code, software code, but also it's installed in the machines, robots, cars, become physicals. But also they have to communicate, coordinate, like an intersection, traffic jam, how they negotiate among them, how they can control the massively parallel, complex communication coordinations among pseudo-intelligent agents. But each agent may maximize the benefit of different entity. So that's become much complex issue, which I think nobody ever tackled. But already, even people didn't call AI, but so many automation happening in a financial transaction, and the disaster which happened. Yeah.
It's not AI, it's computing. We need more rules for computing and for design of interfaces, stuff like that. You had said you had a whole list for that, but I would put away the AI stuff. That's only non-deterministic computing.
Just one comment on that. I think all our laws are founded in our ethics or our values. And it's all about to protect this value. And if some technology threatens the value, we are regulating it. We are limiting the use. We are defining more or less the principles how to deal with that situation. So that could be AI now, it could be quantum computing tomorrow, or something else. So I agree with you. It's not about regulating AI, it's about regulating the influence or the impact of something that threatens our value at the end. And that's the work, that's a complex thing that's going on. Yeah.
I think you have an answer as well, but well, I think that as so many people in the world are talking about AI and we are having this hype, this massive hype, so why not talking about AI regulation? Because I think it's just practical, even if many aspects would also be relevant for other types of software or computing. Yeah, that's probably true. But I think, for example, and I mean, we have very good recommendations in the European Union. I mean, thinking of the recently published ethics guidelines and the policy recommendations for artificial intelligence based on the high-level expert groups on artificial intelligence's recommendations. I think we have a very good basis, and I think some things probably should be regulated. For example, the right for transparency. Like I want to know whether I'm confronted with a machine or a human when talking on the phone, when talking to the customer service of a company, for example. I want to have the right to have humans in the loop of decision making in the medical sector, for example, or if a machine learning or deep learning system makes a decision on whether I, as a patient, would get a certain type of expensive therapy or not. I want to know what were the most influential factors that decision was based on and whether humans were in the loop of this decision, for example. And one last point, I think it should be regulated somehow that in Europe, we focus more and we put more money and more investment into AI research on societal as well as environmental well-being. I think there's huge potentials, and I think this could be something that really comes out of Europe to combine the climate change movements with the potentials of AI, and more investment should go into this area.
I, of course, agree. In my speech, I was avoiding to become too technical. Now I'm forced to say something slightly more technical. There are a couple of things about AI which are rather new for the law. The first one is in terms of who's guilty in the law. That's the so-called causation principle. Sorry, I mean, I apologize to even say the word, which means you do something, you provoke something, something else happens, you are responsible. So suppose your boss gets the picture that you have visited a very naughty place. We are in a democracy, you can do that, by the way. You can go anywhere, but this face recognition spots you. Even, I mean, inadvertently, this goes to your boss, and your boss is not happy. So you are damaged by this, and who's responsible? You will try to claim that this is the company that designed the software that didn't get your permission or whatever. And the company will say, no, not me. It was the algorithm, learning and adapting. I did nothing. And then the programmer of the algorithm says, no, sorry, it was maybe the data that were biased. My algorithm is perfect. So whose fault? It was the fault that your life is ruined. This is a very difficult, this is the first class of difficult questions from the legal point of view. The second class is when you have a deterministic machine in terms of software, you say A, the machine says B, you say C, the machine says D, and you can test over and over and have a reasonable idea on how it works, although you might not know everything. Now, with the deep learning algorithm, maybe we are not yet there, but there are a range of outputs, and you can describe this in a probabilistic way. You cannot anymore say it's A and then it's B. I mean, there will be a set of outcomes. So, is it that new? No, because if you take medicines, medicines are normally okay, but they also have adverse effects. So the little piece of paper tells you, by the way, this is good for you and will cure you, but you can also get very sick because of this medicine. That's why for medicines you have tests, repeated tests, you have independent verification, you have authorization to go on the market. So this is the kind of system of trust I spoke before. I mean, we will need that whatever is put in the market, if it is something that we cannot tell 100% what will be the outcome. So there could be adverse outcome. I think this must be accepted because one thing you should remember, AI is good. AI is better in terms of, for instance, diagnosis. AI improves safety of cars. But there could be adverse effect. This must be described.
Yeah, thank you very much. We don't have much time left, but I would have one short question to our automakers because to go back to Mara, I was thinking about the point that not only tech industries dominated by white men, but also these AIs and robots are often females, like Siri, Alexa, Sophia. It also reproduces this women destined to serve like this. How is your experience? Do you work with female voices? Is it in cars, or why is it always female?
It doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be a female voice. I think it could be anything. In fact, you can choose in some products. So it's a choice, and maybe it's a default choice. The question is actually more what character and what character values does that voice represent? Right? Is it a guiding? Is it a submissive? Is it dominant? Is it friendly? Is it what kind of character traits does it represent? I think this is more important than actually if it is spoken by a female or a male.
Okay, do we have to stop? Okay, I think I'm very sorry. Don't no more time. Okay.
Tomorrow is a feminist chatbot workshop.
Ah, okay. Tomorrow there's a feminist chatbot workshop, I just heard. So just look in the program. Thank you very much for staying here, joining us, and thank you very much to our speakers.